Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about June settlement, and I just promised my home county I'd keep you on schedule, so I'll try to do that my best. But June settlement is just around the corner. It's the easier settlement of all. I hope you all have gotten your instructions off the website that's listed here on your handout. I hope you've at least reviewed those instructions because there have been a few changes. And electronic documents that have been placed on the FTP site already. You have two folders under the June settlement folder, which I could do this. And that would be your settlement form 105, the 49 TC, the 17 TC of refunds. If you're doing refunds in spring, of course, you need to do the 17 TC. Your auditor treasurer reconciliation worksheet of excise, that's your new favorite form. Your excise reconciliation worksheet. The Quitus worksheet isn't out there, but it will get out there. Your fines and fees report, the checklist, and also I did not include the offer for office information sheet because you should already have that. If you still need another one, let me know. Can anyone tell me what form's missing from the list? Yes? It went away. Your 2008 prior delinquent tax worksheet is no more. If the treasurer does certify those in column 2 of the 49 TC, you will need to request your worksheet, but it is not required this year. When the settlement is filed, you must use those worksheets we put on the FTP site, and counties with circuit breaker exempt funds must use, where applicable, the circuit breaker exempt adjusted rates. If you're a county who has LOET option operating levy freezes, you have to use the LOET equivalency rate in with your excise distribution, and we just checked this morning. Those are still not available on the website for DLGF. They will be out there underneath your county, so keep checking those. You can't distribute settlement until you have those rates. Counties, you should have gotten an email. Those who have the local option tax credits. The difference this year is in the past, your seat-at homestead credit you used to distribute 100% in June. That changed. This year, you're only going to distribute 5/12 or 1/2 of the abstract amount of your seated. And for your other taxes, the COIT, the LOET PTRC, the LOET homestead, and or the LOET qualified res, you're either going to distribute 5/12 or 1/2 the abstract. The treasurer must have that money. You must include it in your settlement process. Okay, so make sure that you talk to your vendor if you're not sure how to get it there. All you need to do is write the check for the amount of those abstracts amount out of the proper fund, give it to the treasurer. If they're not sure how to get it through their system, you do need to talk to your software vendors. And like we said, that the delinquent tax worksheet is no longer there. And the excise allocation deductions are going to continue for every settlement, and you must use the current worksheet from the FTP site. Here's a change. Form 105, Section A. That's the top part where you do the June settlement. There's a new line this year. There's a line included now for pre-apportionment adjustments. Those would be for late penalties collected on special assessments to be apportioned, certified liens filed by a municipality, ineligible homestead credits, and other adjustments. Now, Dan is going to be going into late assessment penalties and so forth later on. But now you have a refund line, you have a pre-apportionment adjustment line. So the treasurer on late assessment penalties, they're going to include those in the other sources of their cash book, and they're going to certify them as other collections. Late payment penalties on conservancy districts and ditch assessment taxes are accounted for and settled with the conservancy district rates, and ditch assessment rates. Auditor, they're going to list any as a pre-apportionment adjustment, the late penalty payment on collections on special assessments, not including conservancies and ditch assessments, on line 5 of the Section A Form 105 and 102. The cells work just like the refund cells. You're going to enter it as a negative to increase your apportionment, or if you want to decrease the apportionment, you need to enter it as a positive. June settlement excise tax cutoff date, you're going to use your normal cutoff date regardless of when June settlement occurs. The cutoff dates are March 31st or April 30th for June settlement, and September 30th or October 31st for December settlement. And if you recall, last fall, Dan talked about that change because of the 14-day lag time with your BMV dollars. Backing it up a month on those cutoff dates will allow you to get things done a little sooner than waiting that 14 days, which would delay your settlement some. The Auditor Treasurer Excise Reconciliation Worksheet is required and will continue to be required. You're going to use the one that was put out on the FTP site. There are a handful of counties that should have received an email from me a couple of weeks ago where there were some balancing issues that you couldn't find the discrepancy, and I did give you instructions on how to allocate that. If you have instruction or questions on any of those worksheets or what you need to do, don't hesitate to give us a call or send us an email. Refunds can be deducted from the June settlement, but again, they're not required. If you're going to have a ton of refunds for the year you think, it probably would be a good idea to go ahead and get those put in. They are required to be filed at December settlement, and if you do refunds in June, you do not do those same refunds in December. You only put on the December settlement the December refunds. If you do have refunds and they're deducted in June, then the state, PTRC, and state homestead, if any, portion of the refunds need to be remitted to the state before we approve your settlement. If your refunds are only going back 3 years, you probably won't have those. The county checklist is out there to verify what you're sending in. And if you use the checklist, you'll probably 9 times out of 10 get approved on your first submission. We've had issues in the past. We're going to remind you again. In some cases, just because you put the correct tax rate in your tax billing system, most systems require that you update your distribution rates area to get the current rates for apportionment. We did have some counties that did not get that accomplished, so that did cause some messes. So please make sure you get your distribution rates updated. And again, if you need assistance with that, get a hold of your vendor. The deadline for filing settlement is 51 days after the tax due date. And if interest is due, the interest amount is calculated on the undistributed excise and undistributed property tax. If the interest is due, the interest rate used to calculate the interest equals the average rate the county is earning on investments. The interest amount equals the undistributed tax amount times the average rate divided by 365 times the number of days after 51 days. So if you've done advanced draws, remember you're only going to have interest on the amount left or the net distribution that they need. But I'm positive we're going to have 91 settlements filed on time based on due dates. Settlement fines and fees are due June 30th, whether your settlement's filed or not. And if you file your settlement prior to June 30th, you will remit the May 31 balance of these funds, and Section C needs to be completed with those fund amounts. The remittance due to the state for final approval of June settlement need to be the SWETA, the state PTRC and state homestead portion of refunds, if any, and your infraction judgments, your overweight vehicles, your special deaths, sales disclosure, corner continuing ed, adult mortgage, child, forest, canine, sex, and DLGF homestead property database fund. And the settlement fines and fees. The following require two funds for proper accounting, and that is your sales disclosure fund. One half of the fees go to a county sales disclosure fund, one half go to the state, and that's remitted to the state at settlement time. The adult and juvenile offender, the county offender fund, transportation fund is one half the fees, and the other half of the fees are remitted to the state. On your mortgage recording fees, 50 cents of the $3 fee to the county recorder's perpetuation fund, $2.50 of the mortgage fee is then remitted to the state. Be careful when you're doing these funds and make sure you segregate them, because if you don't and you're putting everything into one fund, let's say you decided to start a new fund this year and you segregate it out of that one fund, you send us our percentage, you keep the other. The next settlement, you put it all into that fund and you do the percentage on that fund, then you just give us more percentage of the county share. It's why it's important that the county have their own fund for that fee and the state have their own fund, so you don't do your calculations wrong. Your forest restoration fund is the back taxes and penalties collected on the withdrawal of the applicable classified forest or wildlands. Back taxes of the 25% withdrawal penalty and the penalty go to the county general fund. 75% of the withdrawal penalty goes to the forest restoration fund, and that comes back to us. Canine research and education fund, that's your county option tax for dogs. If you have that, I don't believe very many counties do. But if you do, 80% collected is retained by the county and 20% is sent to the state. Your sexual violent offender registration fee, 90% goes to the county fund, 10% is remitted to the state. Ineligible homestead credit, the civil penalty, 99% of the penalty remains at the county, 1% comes to the state. When your settlement's ready to be filed with our office, you must use the Excel form that we have for the 105. You need to submit that. You need to submit the 49TC. Just a note on the 49TC, columns 1 through 7 is the treasurer's responsibility to complete. I've heard more than one county say they give us a report, we complete it. Really, the treasurer needs to complete their portion of the 49TC before they give it to you. That's your check and balance. So that form will need to be filed. Certificate of tax refunds, if you have any. Your excise allocation deduction calculation worksheet, and your excise reconciliation worksheet. Again, reminder, use the checklist. It's very helpful. You'll hurt Dan's feelings because it's long, but not near as long as the December one, and he loves those. And we are going to review your settlements in which they come in. And you know me, sorry if you had a problem and you send it back in, you don't get to go to the top of the list, you go back to the bottom of the list. But thankfully, the wait in June for a recheck isn't near as long as the wait in December, because there's just so much more to check in December. And as I said, the treasurer completes columns 1 through 7. You're going to be completing columns 8 through 13 on the 49TC based on the information found on your 102s. In on section 2, columns 17 and 18, you're going to break down the additional PTRC or excess needed between the state and your local PTRC if you have any. If you don't have any local stuff, you probably are going to have zeros in those columns. In Section 2, columns 20 through 228, you're going to enter the breakdown of additional homestead needed or excess homestead between the state and the local funds. And for details on this, you can find them on page 28 of your settlement instructions. Here's my favorite part, CVET. Commercial vehicle excise tax was distributed in May. You should have had those distributions done by now, except if your county has the local levy freeze for Lowit. Like I said, those aren't out there yet. You can't even do your CVET or settlement until you have those Lowit rates for equivalencies. Fire territories and CVET distributions. A fire territory rate or rates are included in the allocation of CVET for the providing taxing unit and each participating unit. If a fire territory rate or rate exists as a part of the taxing district rate, then a fire territory exists. If the providing taxing unit or one of the participating taxing units is a township, then the township CVET fire amount is allocated using the fire territory rate or rates. If no township CVET fire amount is listed, there is no CVET distribution to the fire territory. If the providing taxing unit or the participating taxing unit is a city or town, then the fire territory rate or rates are included with the city or town rates allocated to the city or town CVET amount, and that's a mouthful, isn't it? The total of the fire territory CVET allocations is distributed to the providing taxing unit of the fire territory for the fire territory. Section 241 of House Enrolled Act 1001 SS 209 amended IC Code 6-6-5.5-20 and changed the distribution amount of CVET. Beginning with that calendar year 2009, CVET distribution amount distributed was no longer a guaranteed increase of 5% over the previous year's distribution. Beginning with the calendar year 2009, each county's total CVET distribution amount is determined by the following calculation. The county's distribution percentage is determined by DLGF in 2000 and certified to the auditor of state in 2000. Times the total CVET revenue deposited in the state CVET fund in the previous calendar year. The 2012 distribution is based on calendar year 2011 revenue. One half is distributed in May, the other in December. Each taxing unit CVET amount equals the taxing unit's distribution percentage determined by DLGF in 2000, certified to the auditor of state in 2000, times the county's total CVET distribution amount. Auditor of State's office determines each taxing unit's amount and provides the taxing unit breakdown to the county auditor at each CVET distribution. The county taxing unit CVET distribution is reduced by the welfare, and it's also reduced by the school CVET. These are deducted prior to us sending you your money. Therefore, with CVET, you will not be sending any money to the state. Your distribution's all going to go to your local units. Each taxing unit CVET distribution is allocated to funds of a taxing unit with the property tax rates applicable to the calendar year of the CVET distribution. For example, the 2011 Pay 12 property tax rates are used to allocate the 2012 CVET. CVET can only be distributed to taxing units after DLGF has certified your 2012 budget, your rates, which all 91 counties have. Never ever distribute CVET on a prior year's tax rate. And again, our favorite thing, your low operating levy freeze. Unfortunately, your counties that have that cannot distribute your CVET yet. If a township has no CVET fire amount, there's no township CVET fire distribution to the fire territory. Note, if a township has no civil fund rates, but CVET is distributed for township civil funds, then the amount is distributed to the township general fund. If a township has no fire rates for the current year, but CVET is distributed to the fire funds, the CVET township fire amount is distributed to the township fire fund. Just because they doesn't have rates doesn't mean they don't have a fund out there, because they probably do. They just didn't need a rate for it this year. DLGF is going to create the 2012 FIT worksheets for all the counties who have 2012 property rates. Once those worksheets are received, our agency will send the February and May distribution to those counties. You're going to use DLGF's FIT worksheet in our instructions to calculate to the units. I don't know when those worksheets will be available either. FIT must be distributed to tax units by the time of June and December settlement. Well, if you don't have your worksheets yet, there's no way you can distribute that money. So don't panic if you don't have it by June settlement. Remaining distribution dates, first week of August in 2012, 1/4 of the total amount due the county of FIT will be distributed, and the first week of December, the other 1/4 will be distributed to the county. Fire territory rates are included in the allocation of FIT for the providing taxing unit and each participating unit. If a fire territory rate or rate exists as a part of the taxing district rate, then a fire territory exists. If the providing taxing unit or one of the participating taxing units is a township, then a township FIT fire amount is allocated using the fire territory rate or rates. If there is no township FIT fire amount, then there is no FIT distribution to the fire territory. If the providing taxing unit or one of the participating taxing units is a city or town, then the fire territory rate or rates are included with the city and town rates to allocate to the city or town FIT amount. The total of the fire territory FIT allocation is distributed to the providing taxing unit of the fire territory for the fire territory. Riverboat revenue sharing, that $33 million is to be distributed by August 15th, 2012 to the counties who do not have a riverboat. Each county's total amount is determined by population ratio of the counties who do not have a riverboat. The new census from 2010 will be used to calculate those. Each county's total amount is allocated on population basis between the county, the city, the town within the county. Except Marion County, you're special and yours is done on a different basis. Your permissible uses for riverboat money, any governmental purpose appropriated by fiscal body, that's your county council, does not reduce your property tax levy or maximum levy. Your 2013 revenue estimates, will be emailing those by June 2012 for your 2013 budget revenue estimate. The 2013 budget revenue estimate formulas for cigarette tax, ABC gallonage, MVH, LRS, MVH1 and 2, and the calculation of the estimates for August 2012 and 2013 riverboat sharing distribution will be on there as well. You need to remember to supply your revenue estimates to your county highway and your cities and towns so they can get their budget work done too. The 2010 census population counts were used for the state distribution beginning May 1. For those counties who have adopted wheel or surtax, the census and mileage updated worksheets were sent on May 2nd. EFT deposits, the state distributions and other payments processed through the Auditor of State's office will appear on your bank statement as Auditor of State payables. Payments processed through the state agencies of B&B, Workforce Development, They will not appear as auditor estate payables. As most of you know, if you have a deposit that's a federal deposit, you do not get an EFT notification for those. But on the bank statement, the treasurer will see these identifying numbers, TRES 220, 310, 312, and DOJ. That will tell you that is a federal deposit, and we have listed the phone numbers so you can get information on those deposits. Something new that is we're doing this year, and I think we've had a pretty good start, is your ACH payments to the state. In November of last year, an email was sent stating remittances can now be filed with our office via ACH. We have 14 auditors sending remittances to us by ACH. We do have an enrollment form available with our banking information included. If you are going to go ACH, then you're going to need to complete the form and return to our office. But if you have your own form, you need to provide that to our office, and we will complete our necessary portion. The payments that can be made to the state via ACH are settlement monies, fines and fees, fines and forfeitures, judges' supplemental payments, rainy day loan payments, other payments that are made to the auditor estate. Payments you cannot send to the auditor estate are inheritance tax payments to the Department of Revenue, exam of records to the State Board of Accounts, which, by the way, when you get that invoice from the State Board of Accounts, it does give you their address to remit it to the State Board of Accounts. We're more than happy to forward them on, but it does delay them getting their money in if it is sent to us. So please make sure on your invoices you check for remittance addresses and payments to any other state agency. You need to notify our office if you're going to put money in our bank immediately by just sending us an email telling us what it is and how much it is and when it's going to hit the bank, or send us a fax with the same information. We do need them to be itemized, so you just can't send me an email saying June settlement money. I need to know how much is infraction judgments, overweight vehicle, and so forth. If not, we just don't know where that money will be. We'll have to call you and just take more time. Everyone's asking, Brenda, when am I going to get my printed copy of the abstract? Janie, when am I going to get my printed copy? Well, the process we started last year or the year before is we just don't print those anymore until they're deemed compliant by the DLGF. Because if we print them and send them to you, if there's a problem, it has to be fixed. We have to reprint them and resend them to you. And that paper is huge, and it's really not that cheap. So we're just trying to save some resources here. So if you guys are saying, but Brenda, I really need to print something out to have on my desk, there is what we call a print file out there where I have cleaned those up, gotten rid of the formulas, gotten rid of the macros, and it's unprotected, so you can set print ranges, print it on legal paper, print it on 11 by 17. And if you think you would like, since it's taking so long to get these printed copies back, if you think you might want a copy of that file, please send me an email or Janie an email, and we'll be glad to get that to you. Form 22s, although we love to be included on Form 22s, please send those to the DLGF. And I don't think we've forgotten anything.